Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome to another in-depth review for Marvel Strike Force. Now we have another video that's really came about due to all the requests I've had for this particular character. So this will be Winter Soldier that we'll have a look at today. Now in the video we start off with a general overview. So here we'll look at where you go to unlock him and also his tags, because that's relevant as to what campaign he can help out in. We then check out the stats, follow that up by having a look at the abilities. Next up we look at the synergies. This is the teams you can work in and also characters you want to avoid when playing as him, and then finally we see where he places in the tier list as well. But first off we'll look at a general overview. Winter Soldier is a very simple character then, and he's one that's all about dealing high single target damage to a particular target you want to take out ASAP. Now in a lot of ways he's like a hero I've covered before. One of my earlier in-depth reviews, Elektra. So she's all about the single target damage. She does have a small amount of utility in her kit with the cleanse. Winter Soldier has the heal block, so what I'll sometimes do is switch them in and out teams I'm using, whether or not I need the cleanse or potentially the heal block could come in useful if I want to push out a little bit more damage a bit earlier, because Winter Soldier has his main skill on the first turn. Now when it comes to his tags, the ones that are relevant are the Villain, Blaster and also the Hydra one. So Villain can be a tough campaign and he can help you out there. Blaster, as we all know, you've got that challenge that's Blaster only, which is solid at the moment, so he can help out there. And then we have Hydra, and that's relevant because on his passive he can actually buff other Hydra members, but we don't have that many in the game at the moment. But we do know that Red Skull, when he comes, will of course have the Hydra tag. In relation to where you go to farm him, he does appear a bit later on in the game. It's Cosmic 1.9, which can take quite a bit of time to get to, but it is worthwhile trying to farm him. And then Nexus 9.9, which is a long way off, so I wouldn't really worry about that too much. But next up we will have a look at his stats. For the stats here then, we have 6 in total. We look at 3 defensive stats and also 3 offensive stats, and the scaling we're using is a rating that goes from A to F. Now first off we will check out the offensive stats. From an offensive perspective then, Winter Soldier does do incredibly well. His damage is way up at A rating, so he can hit like an absolute truck. The only downside is that it's single target rather than AoE. His speed is way down at E, so you want to pair him up with somebody like Black Widow or Merc Lieutenant to speed him up if you want to make the most of his damage, and his focus is D, so that would be relevant when it comes to applying his heal block there, so you'll get chances that it won't actually take hold because of the lower focus. Now offensively as well, he also has Piercing and Bleed as part of his kit, and when you upgrade his passive you can get 15% crit chance as well there, but that's something we will look at a lot more when we get to the abilities. For this next section we will check out his defensive stats. When it comes to his defensive stats, he actually does not too bad. Now he does have lower health, way down at D, but for a Blaster class that's not uncommon. But he actually has pretty high tier armour, that's way up at B, so as long as you don't go up against a character that's got high pierce such as Wolverine, he can actually take quite a few hits considering his class. Now his resistance is down at F, so he will be susceptible to slows and stuns and so on. If we think back to his attack speed, it was pretty low as it is, so if he does get slowed it can cause him a lot of problems there. But what we'll check out next with the stats covered is we will have a look at his abilities. For the abilities here then, we have 4 in total we look at. It's the basic, the special, the ultimate and also the passive. Now when I bring up the tooltip and I'm discussing each individual ability, I'll show it off at max level, but I'll let you know if it's one you want to max out or one you maybe want to stop a little bit short and save your crafting materials. So the passive anyway, that would be Expert Assassin. With this you gain 15% crit chance, and you also apply 10% crit chance to Hydra allies. Now it was recently confirmed by a support that buffs such as the Hydra allies one do apply to the target if they have that tag as well. So that means if you max this out, and I would recommend doing it because if you can crit on his ultimate, it's a thing of beauty, it really is, but if you were to max this out, then that would give you a huge 25% extra crit chance. He starts off with 10 already, so that's 35% crit chance, 1 in 3 chance to crit, which sounds pretty nice. For his basic, we've got a pretty simple skill here. This is called Winter Assault, so it's a single target skill. With this, you attack the primary target for 290% damage, and it's also got 25% piercing, so that's nice if you're going up against a target that does have high armour. Now, this particular skill, I would say take it up to level 6, because you'll retain the 290% damage, but all you actually lose is 5% piercing, so level 6 for this particular skill. For his special, we have another single target skill here. This one's Relentless Assassin. It comes with 3 charges, so you can use it nice and often, and it comes fully charged at the start of the fight. So with this, you attack the primary target for 200% damage and apply bleed, and then you have a 70% chance to bonus attack up to 2 times for an additional 150% damage each time, and then a 50% chance to apply bleed as well. So you could apply bleed twice on a single target with this, and if you get both of the bonus attacks, then that means you're doing a whopping 500% damage there, which isn't really far off his ultimate, and you can use it every 3 turns. This is a really nice skill, and it's one that I would say you want to max out, because the difference between level 6 and level 7 is the bonus attack does 100% damage, but because you can do it up to 2 times, that's 50 plus 50, it means you're losing out on 100% damage if you don't fully max it. So go all the way up to level 7 for this one. For the ultimate, we have an absolutely awesome skill here. This is the first one where he uses his arm. So this is called Mechanical Arm. It takes quite a lot of time to charge. It's 5 turns it takes, but it comes fully charged. So this is great for using at the start of a fight if you've got a high value target that you do need to take out. Now with this, when it's fully maxed out, and I would recommend maxing this out, you attack the primary target for a whopping 630% damage. So that's on turn number 1. It really is fantastic, and it will also apply heal block for 2 turns. So if you've got someone you want to take out, nothing really works better than this skill. It really is pretty awesome. I think I've said that a few times now, but it really is. But next up, what we will do is we'll have a look at his synergies. When it comes to characters you want to pair him up with, you want to make up for his biggest weakness, which is his low attack speed. So Merc Lieutenant and Black Widow can work really well with him. Merc Lieutenant especially, because not only are you getting the speed up, but you're getting the defense up as well, so you can do an absolute heap of damage. Now, other characters that can work well, but I wouldn't go out your way to actually build a team around them, would be Hydra allies, for the simple fact that he has that extra crit chance he can offer to them. Once Red Skull comes in, that should make things a bit more interesting, but for now, you definitely want to get someone to speed him up, so that's Merc Lieutenant or Black Widow. Now next up, what we'll do is we'll check out the characters you want to avoid when you're playing as Winter Soldier. When we look at characters that can cause them some problems, you've got quite a few here, and it's all really for different reasons. The first one would be Quake and any other character that has slow in their kit, because with his already low attack speed, if he's slowed down, it will take an age before he gets his turn. Next up, from a Protector perspective, we have Captain America. Now he can be problematic because he's faster than Winter Soldier, and on his first turn he can actually cast defense up and taunt. So that would mean that if you want to use your ultimate in your first turn, you're using it on Cap, who could block it, and he'll have defense up as well on him. Next up we have Korov, who can act nice and quick in a match, and he has ability block on his first skill, so he can prevent you from using your ultimate. You then have characters that have Pierce in their kit. You've got Wolverine, who has an insane amount of Pierce. I think everything is Pierce in his kit. Makes sense though with those claws. And then you have Punisher, who has Pierce, but he also does extra damage to villains as well. Now, one thing I'll just mention very quickly before we do move on to the next section is characters he can work good against. The first one that comes up would be Wolverine, of course, because he's got the 2 turns of heal block, and Wolverine would normally, when he's maxed out, be generating 10% of his health every turn, so that can be very useful against him there. But next up, we'll check out the tier list. We now come to the part of the video that stops me from putting timestamps in these, because if I did, I know that everyone simply would skip the previous 10 minutes that I've spent a lot of time on and jump straight to this section, so there's no shortcuts here. Now the tier list, we've got 5 different rankings here. The first one's a Mega, that's the strongest, and that starts off on the left hand side, and as we go from left to right the characters get progressively weaker until we're all the way down at level 1. Now in regards to Winter Soldier, I would place him as a level 3 character, so he's the same tier as Elektra, because I do see them very similar in that they can put out a huge amount of single target damage, which is very nice, but they don't offer a great amount of utility. Now despite saying that, I do use Elektra and Winter Soldier in some of my main Blitz teams, so a level 3 character is not a bad character at all. They're just not often enough to push themselves up to the alpha class. Now if you look at the positives he has, he's got his huge damage, and I do mean huge. You've got the fact that he's not really that squishy for a blaster class. You have his heal block, which can be useful, but there's not a massive amount of targets that it's that useful on, apart from Wolverine of course that we have mentioned. For his downsides, you've got the fact that he's got his huge damage, but it's all consigned to single targets. He's very slow, and if he's slowed down further then you can be in a lot of trouble, and he's also easy to be slowed or stunned due to his low resistance. But despite all that, I know we finished with the negatives there, he's still a really good character, and he's one that I'm working on gearing up myself, and he can help out, but he just not got enough in his kit just to push him up to that alpha class there. But as always, I do hope this video has been useful. If there's any questions, anything else, feel free to ask, and I'll see you all again soon.